Okay, so imagine, right, you're leading your people, you're in charge, and then, bam, your spouse, who is right there with you, is suddenly murdered. Brutal stuff. What would you do? How do you react?
Well, that's exactly what happened to Olga of Kiev way back in the 10th century. Yeah, we're talking about the Kiev Mons, this huge mix of East Slavic tribes. It's not just personal, right? It's a total power vacuum.
Yeah, and it's not like some fairy tale kingdom, you know? These were tough people, Viking influence, right on the edge of what we think of as Europe. Olga's story is like a window into this world. Part of it you might recognize, and part of it will probably shock you.
So we're talking Grand Prince Igor, Olga's husband. Now, he wasn't exactly Mr. Popularity, more like a, how to put this, the Iron Fist kind of leader. Kept those tribes in check by collecting tributes, basically taxes.
But he seems to have overplayed his hand. One tribe, the Drevlians, and get this, their name means people of the trees, they decided enough was enough. Saw Igor's demands as straight-up extortion. And their response, not just a little uprising, oh no. They grabbed Igor, and get this, they tied him to 2 birch trees, bent him way down to let him snap back.
Brutal. And very symbolic, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. A message loud and clear.
Like, we won't be bent to your will anymore.
But here's the thing. They totally misjudged the woman Igor left behind.
Oh, yeah. Big mistake.
The Drevlians, thinking they've won, send these envoys to Olga, figuring she's a woman, she'll be easy to control, their big plan. She marries their own Prince Mol. And the irony, his name means bad in their language.
No kidding. Prince Bad comes to woo the grieving widow. You can see their logic, though, right? Absorb Kievan Rus right into their control.
But Olga, she was playing a long game, acts the part, the heartbroken widow, all, oh yes, marriage, how wonderful. But then she throws in this little detail. You must treat my husband's envoys with the utmost respect, carry them to me in their boat. A grand procession, right into my fortress.
So they dig this huge ditch inside the fortress.
And those envoys, oh, they must have felt so important, riding high in their boat, until, plump, right into the ditch. Buried alive, boat and all.
Wow, that's cold.
Revenge, Act 1. But Olga, she's just getting started.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. The Drevlians, they send another group of envoys, this time the A-Team. Really important, guys. Olga, she's ready for them.
What'd you do?
Plays on another custom, the ritual bath, before big meetings, you see. Welcome, honored guests. A lovely bathhouse awaits you.
Oh, no, I see where this is going.
They're inside, nice and relaxed, enjoying the steam. And Olga, she slams the door shut, locks them tight. Boom. The whole place goes up in flames.
Yikes. Talk about making a statement.
No survivors.
Mm-hmm.
But Olga, she knew traps wouldn't be enough. She had a son, Sviatoslav, the heir, but he was just a kid. She needed to secure his future, her future, the whole kingdom's future.
So from trickery to all-out war?
Exactly.
What happened next?
Yeah, she gathers her army, puts young Sviatoslav by her side. They march on Iskorostan, the Drevlian capital, and lay siege to the city.
A siege, though. Those can drag on and on.
And they did. Both sides getting tired, resources running low.
Stalemate.
Not if Olga has anything to say about it. She sends out a message. Seems like a peace offering. We'll end this, but I want a tribute.
Gold! Weapons?
Nope. She asks for 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from every house in the city.
Birds? That's a strange request.
Oh yeah, Olga's got a plan, all right, and it's a fiery one. Her soldiers, they take those birds, 1,000 of them. They attach little bundles of sulfur and cloth to each one.
Sulfur? Oh boy, I'm starting to get a bad feeling about this.
Night falls, and they light those sulfur bundles. And those birds, they take off into the night sky.
Like a flock of tiny fire bombs.
And the pigeons and sparrows, they always fly back to their nests, right?
And where are those nests? Under the eaves of houses, wooden houses?
All over Iskorostan.
Can you imagine the whole sky lit up with these fiery birds?
That must have been incredible and terrifying. The perfect way to break the Drevlians' will.
Oh, absolutely devastating, both practically and, psychologically.
So Olga secures the victory.
Oh yeah, she didn't stop there. Anyone who made it out of that fire either killed or enslaved. She made sure her son's claim to the throne was rock solid and sent a message, you don't mess with Olga.
From grieving widow to, a warrior queen, it's quite a story. But how much of this is actually true? I mean, we're talking sources written way after the fact, right?
Right. The good point. It's a blend of history and legend, for sure. The main source we have is the primary chronicle, and that was put together centuries later. Plus, it's been copied and edited over time.
So how do we separate fact from, exaggeration?
It's hard to say for sure, but even if some details got embellished, The main point comes through. Olga was a smart, resourceful leader, and people remembered that.
I mean, these stories wouldn't have survived all this time if there wasn't some truth to them.
Exactly, and it's what makes her so interesting. Even now, she wasn't just reacting to events, she was shaping them, using strategy, even deception.
All in a world where men held all the power.
And she played the game better than most.
You know, it's fascinating comparing her to Igor. He was all about force, demand, crushing anyone who disagreed.
Yeah, brute strength.
Olga, though, cunning, ruthless when she had to be, but always thinking ahead.
A different kind of strength.
But her story doesn't end with revenge, does it? She eventually converts to Christianity. Pretty radical for a ruler back then.
Absolutely, and historians still debate why she did it. The sources aren't clear on her motivation.
So some say she was truly drawn to the faith.
Yeah, maybe she saw something in the teachings, the rituals.
Others think it was a power move, aligning herself with the Byzantine Empire.
It's possible Olga was always thinking strategically.
Maybe it was both, a personal and a political decision.
We can't know for sure, but it shows how adaptable she was. She didn't just convert herself. She opened the door for Christianity to spread throughout the region.
Which it did, ultimately under her grandson, Vladimir the Great. So from vengeful widow to devout Christian and eventually a saint. What a journey. I wonder how she'd see her legacy now, centuries later.
It's interesting, isn't it? She's mostly remembered for her political skills, her intelligence, her cunning. Not so much for mercy or forgiveness.
Almost like those acts of revenge that kind of overshadow everything else.
It makes you think about how history remembers leaders, right? Even now, we judge them based on their actions, the good and the bad.
We might admire Olga's strength, her strategic mind. But can we really reconcile that with the brutality?
It's a question we all have to wrestle with, I think. History is full of these complex figures who defy easy answers, and Olga of Kiev is definitely one of them.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here with Olga's story, from, well, those pretty intense acts of revenge to her conversion to Christianity. But what does it all mean for us, listening to this 1,000 years later?
Well, that's kind of the magic of history, isn't it? It's not just about names and dates. It's about understanding people, the choices they made when things got, well, really tough.
It's like looking in a mirror with Olga. But the mirror's a bit warped, We see bits of ourselves, ambition, grief, wanting things to be fair. But it's all magnified by the world she lived in.
It makes you think, if you were in her shoes, spouse murdered, your whole world about to fall apart, wouldn't you be tempted to strike back, get some payback?
Honestly, I don't know if I could be that calculated, that ruthless.
Yeah.
But I get it. I understand the feeling.
And that's what makes her so fascinating to study, right? She forces us to ask some hard questions about power, how far we'd go to protect what's ours. Where's the line between justice and vengeance?
She also flips the script on what we think of as a leader, especially a woman. In a world run by men, she outsmarted them all.
Yeah, she's a reminder that leadership isn't one size fits all. It's not always about armies and brute force. Sometimes it's about brains, strategy, making the tough calls, even the brutal ones.
And she reminds us, people are complicated. Olga was a grieving widow, a brilliant strategist, a true believer in her faith, and a ruler who shaped a nation.
And you can't forget that. Her reign paved the way for Christianity to really take root in Kiev on Rus. Changed their culture, their politics, everything. Hard to imagine how things would have gone without her influence.
So from those burning birds to the spread of Christianity, Olga's legacy, it's a mixed bag, isn't it? She's a real puzzle, hard to put in a neat little box. Reminds us that the past is full of surprises, and we can still learn from them today.
And that's what we've tried to do in this deep dive, Dig into the messy, fascinating story of Olga of Kiev and hopefully get you thinking.
We've walked through her world, her decisions, the questions her story asks, and the best deep dives, like we always say, they leave you with more questions than answers.
So as you go about your day, think about this. What would you have done in Olga's place? Would you have gone for revenge, embraced a new faith, and how would you want to be remembered as a leader, as a person?
We hope you enjoyed this journey into the past with us. And if you're as into exploring these hidden corners of history as we are, make sure you subscribe to the Deep Dive for more episodes like this. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, keep diving deeper.